In this video, I'm going to show you how I took my turbo from looking like this to something like this. Most of this process you can do at home. Okay boys, last video you saw I did that. You saw me mention some stuff about the radiator. I painted that red to see how it looks, and I don't like it. So what I have decided to do, I'm going to polish this and the valve cover. This will be an awesome example of how to polish something because I have sprayed paint. I have sprayed spray paint. Spray paint. So on something like this, we're gonna knock down all of that nasty, rough cast aluminum look, and we're gonna end up getting something similar to this nice shiny chromage look. And so I'm going to show you step by step how to do that. This is something you could definitely do at home. You may have to buy a couple things to get the exact same outcome, but you could get a pretty good result with simple wet sandpaper and probably like a drill. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Currently have 3 hours before I have to leave and go away for a couple days. Okay, we're going to start with the turbo because that's probably the biggest pain in the butt because I painted it. While the paint remover sits, this would be a good time to say thank you to a subscriber that goes by the name RJF Scooter, who has sent a bunch of wet sanding paper straight from the Amazon to me. So we'll be using a bunch of this. This looks like a variety pack. So we're gonna open these up. We're gonna use a bunch of these. I'll walk you through which ones I'm using for what stage. Thank you, RJF Scooter. RJ, I don't know, that sounds weird saying your whole name. Thank you, RJF, or thank you, Scooter. I appreciate you. He's been a huge help. So if you see him in the comments, tell him thank you. We'll give that another 10 minutes or so, then we should be good to go. So here I'm trying to get this casting line down that a lot of turbos have, but this one has an especially strong one because it is from the eBay. You can use a heavier grit sandpaper, but then you have deeper lines to dig out later down the road, so I choose to use 220. I probably wouldn't go much more aggressive than 180, otherwise you're going to be basically creating additional marks that you're trying to get out, so it's kind of counterproductive. This is an important step to pay attention to. When I zoom in right here, you'll see all these little pits. So those are kind of the in-betweens of the valleys of the cast aluminum. If you don't get those out, and I did miss a couple, you'll see at the end, if you don't get those out, it is a huge eyesore. So this is one of the more important and harder parts, is getting all of those little bumps and little divots out. Otherwise, they literally show up as like black speckles. So it's definitely a pain in the butt, but definitely worthwhile for the end result that you want. This next part is kind of up to you. If this was a customer part, I would definitely take the time to take a Dremel and get into all these nooks and crannies properly. But because this is my own and I don't really care, I'm just kind of cleaning up that inner valley with those nylon wire wheels that I always use. It's very, very time consuming to try and get the same polish that I'm going to get on the outside on that inner valley. So that's all up to you. I've done turbos completely before, and it definitely adds, I'd say probably a good maybe 2 hours just to get that little canyon area around the inside perfect. So again, don't have time, don't really care, so I choose not to. It's up to you. If you ever do this or you have done this, you know what I'm talking about. This process as a whole is pretty self-explanatory and it's very simple. You're basically just going to continue sanding until your fingers bleed. So I do 220, 400 on the air sander, and then 600 wet sanding, 800, 1,000, and then 2,000. You could go as far as your heart's content. I have found that going up to 2,000 is about all you need before you move on to the buffer. Okay, so this is what 1000 gets us. A pretty decent finish. So I'm gonna head up to the mountains with some friends. We're gonna take basically a day vacation, and then when I get back, we're gonna hit it with 2000 and get the buffer out and actually get it to start shining. Okay, we're back. Got 2000 grit. Here we go. So this is a bench grinder I got from Harbor Freight probably like 5 years ago. I have no idea how much it cost, but I'm assuming since I bought it, it probably wasn't very expensive. So I took the grinding wheels off and put these little buffing wheels on it, both of which are from Harbor Freight. The one I'm using right here is a little bit more abrasive, and I use the first 2 cutting compounds on this wheel, and then the one that you see on the other side is nice and fluffy. I use that for the final finish. This, I don't actually know what you call it, but it basically removes all of the compound and all the dirt in between polishes. So I don't know if it's necessary to do it in between each polish, but I do it just so I'm not overlapping like a heavy cut with the final finish. The brand is Zephyr. I had to get all this at a truck stop, believe it or not. I'm sure it's online, but when I bought everything, I was in a rush, so I tried to find it in town. Here, this is probably not the correct tool to use, but I'm just trying to get the first cutting compound off so it doesn't affect the new one. And that's kind of all there is to the actual buffing part. It's similar to the sanding. You just go over it and over it and over it until you get the look you want. The nice thing about polishing is you kind of can't screw it up. If you make a mistake, you can just go back over it and correct it. And so you learn pretty quick because it's forgiving, and you can just continue to repeat each step until you get the result that you want. So that's kind of all there is to it. It's pretty straightforward, and that's why I like it. You have to put in some elbow grease, but it's really satisfying in the end because you basically, I mean, this turbo started out looking like concrete almost, and by the end of this, I mean, I can see my reflection in it. So it's a really satisfying process. You got to put some work into it, but it's worth it in the end. These valve covers are going to be covered by the coil packs and some other wiring, so I really didn't put much effort into these. I'll tell you what I did at the end of the video. I was also kind of over polishing at this point, and since these were not going to be as noticeable as the turbo itself, I put very little effort into these. Goodness gracious, that looks way better. So I really didn't put much time into these, as you kind of heard me explain. I did the wire wheel, 220 and then 600, and then polished it. And from normal viewing distance, they look pretty good. If you get up close, you will see all the, the stuff I didn't dig out like I did on the turbo. So this is actually kind of a good example. You could see like on here, it's pretty, like there are like right there, I missed some little tiny scratches, and all over there's kind of like those like cobweb scratches, but looks pretty good. You get into here and you can just see crap all over the place. But I did that with intention because these are more than likely going to be covered by the coil packs unless we relocate those, which I don't know if I really care enough to do it. So it's just kind of like a nice little touch, like voila. So with that, those and that all cleaned up, looks pretty good. Clean this up just a little bit, and then we definitely need to do something about that. I don't know if just coating that black or just putting a heat shield on it or what, I don't know. Fuel rail is pretty ugly. Not super worried about it right now though. So I found a website that has specifically made radiators for LS swap. So they make one for a CJ. They make multiple Jeep LS swap radiators. So I'm trying to get some dimensions on those because normally like a radiator on Jeeps actually kind of sits in a little bit and the whole grill is kind of like shrouded for it, kind of, if that makes sense. So I might still have a depth problem, but they're like triple pass. So instead of just all the coolant moving through, it'll go like down, like that, down, like that, out, or vice versa. But so it's in the radiator for a little bit longer, so it has more time to cool down. And it's specifically designed to fit here-ish and cool that machine. So we'll see if that's plausible. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you have suggestions, let me know. I picked up this polishing thing a while ago just as another means to possibly make some money. It is a ton of work, but it's super satisfying because there really isn't a way to shortcut it. You have to put in some hard work to get that finish, and I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, that looks a lot better than the cast aluminum. It just looks clean, just looks nice. So yeah, let me know what you think. Everything else is just kind of a jumbled up mess. Financially, I'm doing a lot better than I have been, but I'm very used to not spending any money. So I'm trying not to just blow everything I have. And we're going to start probably here in the next, we're closing on our house tomorrow. So in the next, probably the next week, really, I'm going to start buying all the other stuff we need and hopefully just keep this going. I'm getting really excited for that. I know you guys have been waiting on that forever, and trust me, I'm ready to go. So we're gonna try and finish this up and just get it running and driving. And then once this is running and driving, and then we can just do little things to it to make it better throughout the winter, although we're not there yet. We can go balls to the walls on that, like I've been saying, and I'm really excited. Got a lot of ideas of how I want to make it look and how to make, I want the body to tilt up and off, like with a switch. I have no idea how I'm doing that yet, but I like that idea. So that's what we got. Let me know what you think about that. If you guys have suggestions or questions, let me know in the comments. I'll keep going and see what, I have no idea what the next video is going to be. So I'm just going to keep working, and that's all I got for you. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.